Well, they won't know. People aren't going to be. I don't think anybody's going to be searching my profile necessarily. 2,000 years from now, maybe by accident, maybe one or two people by accident might trip over it, but there's going to be unlimited content. Even 100 years from now. So what we do now, I just think the way we should think is, how can we best impact other people in a good way? How can we bring love and light and happiness and joy to an otherwise pretty distressed world that we live in?
I lay on the scare, you gotta glow. She had my attention, she gotta know.
I'd like to welcome everyone to another episode of the Let's Gather podcast. I'm your host Zeke, and in this episode I have Asher to speak about his experience as an electronic violinist. You can find more information about him by clicking the link in the description below. I'd like to give a content warning if you're trying to introduce this episode, and hope you have a nice day and enjoy the show. I'd like to start off by welcoming you to the podcast and give you the floor to introduce yourself to the audience.
Okay. Well, my name's Asher, and I'm an electric violinist, composer, producer, and live performer, and glad to be here. You have any questions, or should I just kind of shoot the breeze here?
I guess yes. We could talk about the what kind of got you into like violining and music in general. Just start with that.
What got me into the violining? Well, I started with the violin at a pretty young age, and kind of progressed from there to from classical training to improvisation, and that something I really enjoyed, and that allowed me to kind of progress into a professional type of setting as a live performer.
Nice.
In New York. Mm-hmm.
And your bio says you started at 2. Like, how did you get a child that young to even like want to do something that requires time and practice?
So I mean, that was a choice of my parents, and just because I was just a happy kid at the time, figured I'd just go with the flow. So week after week, attending private lessons allowed me to learn all these scales. And as I grew, the violins grew. They gave me larger violins, and was playing in orchestras. So that's how I was able to develop various skills on a pretty complicated instrument.
Yeah. And now you're saying that you're going to improvisation. So what is that? What does that detail?
Started with kind of learning jazz, the jazz standards, and observing the jazz band and saxophonists, how they played, and trumpet players, how they improv, and listening pretty extensively to some of my idols like John Ponte, who's a violinist, kind of cutting edge in the jazz improv world. And that had a major impact on my shift to improv from just reading classical from sheet music, which is pretty much regurgitating or just memorizing what the composer's telling you to play. So here with improv, you don't necessarily know what's going to come next or the next line. You kind of follow the chord progression. That's something that was pretty appealing to me. So by 11th, 12th grade, I was kind of spending a lot of time honing that skill, and then even more so when I hit the New York scene on the East Coast. Mm-hmm.
Got it. So it's more like you playing, I guess, like more instead of just doing what's already been done, trying to like create something new, or just playing what comes to mind.
Yeah, playing what comes to mind. You can't think too much about it. You just have to kind of feel the chord progressions. And, if you're thinking like theory from bar to bar, you're going to screw up. But if you're kind of feeling the notes, feeling the chord progression, predicting what's going to happen next, which just takes a lot of practice, a lot of repetition, then it's something that's enjoyable. It's something that kind of breathes life and breathes a narrative that is otherwise not really achievable unless you have that experience.
Got it. And like, what does it feel like for you when you're playing the violin? What kind of like state are you in?
A pure state of euphoria. No, I guess it depends on the music that I'm playing. Depends on the venue, the setting. Sometimes I'm literally just not thinking about what I'm playing. I'm thinking about something else. If it's a boring kind of gig, when I'm doing studio recording, I am nitpicking every single note, the intonation, and the the velocity of the note, all sorts of like, because I want it to sound perfect. I'm gonna have to listen to the recording for decades. So once it's out, so it's a different story there. That's a little more stressful. When I'm in a concert setting where like video cameras are on me, then that's something that also is. Um, I'm not I'm not necessarily. Well, I guess it depends on the audience reaction. If the audience is really into the music, then I'm feeling just the enjoyment of the experience. Just focusing on trying to tell the narrative of whatever the music is that I'm playing. Um, I'm playing like Baroque type stuff. It's not as much of a narrative; it's more technical. So uh, you're mostly just focused on the coordination, I would say. So,
Got it.
yeah.
I had an idea. Okay. So like when you're recording, is it like with when people they don't like their voice when they're recording? Do you ever like hear your own self playing and you just like it's making those changes in your head? Like this could be better.
Do I ever hear? Sorry,
Like
say that again. Do I ever hear what change in my head?
you know how like there's people who hear their own voice in recordings and they can't like listen to it. It just sounds
Oh,
too
they
weird for
can't
them.
listen to a recording because they're not happy with it.
Like to their own voice. Like the sound of their own voice is weird to them off of recording.
Oh, well, I'm not really recording my voice so
Yeah.
much. I'm doing mostly instrumentals and MIDIs, that type of stuff. Um, the when I'm recording other people, I mean, yeah, the product, the end product generally sounds a bit different because you're adding some compression and a little bit of like some limiter effects, some reverb. It tends to sound a little bit more. It's got like that sheen to it after it's mixed and mastered, so it sounds a little bit different than it would, uh, just like in a room hearing somebody sing.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, the violin sounds. I wouldn't say for my violin. I wouldn't say it sounds weird. I like the way it sounds, the way that the product, because once it's mixed and EQ'd and so on and so forth, with the rest of the instruments.
Got it. And for those who want to become musicians, how do you make that career? That's not a traditional career for people to follow.
Well, it takes a lot of work, just like any career. It's not something that kind of happened overnight for me. It took a number of years just to like develop the skills. Even for musical, like any aspect of the music profession where you're going to kind of rise to the top and be in demand, you have to really build up a skill over a period of time, or have some really darn good connections. So for me, I made it a career. It actually happened kind of naturally. I was working my way through school. I was doing one gig every month or so, and it kind of increased from there due to demand, due to requests, and so that's kind of how it happened initially, like back in 2001, 2002. But for people that want to like make DJing a career or instrument a career, if you want to make an instrument a career, you got to practice for many, many years and really just take maybe professional lessons or be really dedicated to the craft. If you want to DJ, I would say it's a bit easier as somebody who has experience with both. If you have good coordination, you might be able to if you're a good producer, you have a good ear, you listen to a lot of music, but that's also craft. Like that's a skill. It's not just connecting random loops together. It's also being able to listen to other music and translate that to your own production. In terms of live mixing, it's BPM, beats per minute, knowing how to sync beats per minute. I don't know if the DJ thing is what you're doing. or if that's like your, I don't know who I'm talking to in terms of like your audience, but you could tell me.
I think my age is mostly on people my age and like 20 and up, like 20
Okay.
to like 30. So people
Okay.
who are like new into the career, so they still like
Dude. Okay.
they can still like choose any career they want. So
Am I covering the instrumental versus DJ? Like I'm assuming we're talking about a mixed group of
yeah,
listeners here.
yeah.
Okay, so then I'll just keep saying what I was saying. I guess it's a bit of an easier transition with DJing, but then there's the business end of things that is somewhat of a challenge. Building a company, a lot of people think, oh, all I have to do is just like mix turntables and just have a big catalog, and it's not. It's an investment in equipment. It's access. It's being really what's the word? It's being really nimble when it comes to knowing how to access music in the right genres, knowing how to respond to clients, knowing how to get your music out there and publicized. There's a million hats you got to wear, and it's literally like being an accountant or a lawyer or a doctor. You can work your tail off and become great in music, or you can just kind of sit back and not make much money, or it may just not be about money. It may just be about impacting many people, and that all takes a lot of work. So you have to wear a lot of hats. You have to be a businessman. You have to be a musician. You have to uh, see your listeners as your clients. You have to think about data the way an accountant would. Look at how what your return on investment is. Like look at how much you're spending on campaigns. Are they the right campaigns? Are they screwing up your social media profile? Are you connecting with the right people? It's just like any other business. Just a lot of people don't realize that.
Yeah, I can see like when you're a musician, you have to pretty much promote yourself. Be good at the craft first, then promote yourself, and then make sure you're making the best decisions financially and otherwise to make sure that you continue to grow.
Yeah, it can be a sticky field, as you may already know, or your listeners might know. It's a saturated field, but it doesn't mean there isn't demand. It's just there are that you can't create, you can't generate demand. You can generate demand in anything, in fashion and whatever. But you got to be good at it, and you have to think critically, just like in any career.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And you're doing it, so it's possible.
Yeah, there's a lot of people. There's unfortunately, I've wasted a lot of time, kind of learning from gurus, who kind of sent me in different paths and different, kind of not so useful, promotional campaigns, and I learned that after the fact. But to my credit, I did a lot of data crunching, and I realized, like after a year or so of wasting my time and money, that this was not the thing. These weren't the campaigns that were useful for growing my audience or for building my career.
Mm,
So, yeah,
that's the business. Everything's a business.
it's a business. Yeah, it's definitely a business. Mm-hmm.
And so,
Yeah, if you don't want to treat it like a business, you can be owned by somebody. You could get a booking agent. I was owned for like 7 to 10 years, by the same people booking me over and over again. And I guess I should be grateful in retrospect because they did help me pay my way through college, but it wasn't really sustainable because I wasn't able to raise my prices. I wasn't able to build a unique pathway, like my unique brand. I wasn't able to create my unique brand as an artist. So that there was a big void there. I wasn't able to, build an audience because it was just pretty much the work that was coming my way was generated by my booking agents. I wasn't able to negotiate pricing or anything like that. I didn't know where I was going to go. I rarely was able to negotiate pricing or how many hours I'd be working. So yeah, you don't have to treat it like a business, but if you don't think of it as a brand, as a business, you're going to have a lot of trouble growing your income, I think, unless you have a really good, honest team around you that really believes in your work.
yeah, I can see how they're pretty much, even though you're getting work, they're the ones who's like doing all the work. So they're like the face, even though like you're the one who's putting in the work. So then it's like
Mhm.
Yeah, they're taking the business part of it, but you're not pretty much. You're just more of a product at that point, not really the musician.
Yeah, I mean, if I'm the product, they're selling my services, but I don't have any connection to the client or the concert promoter. I'm not going to have much control of my career.
Yeah, nice. Cool. Second and go. Okay. So go back to performing. How is it like performing in front of a big crowd like Madison Square Garden and stuff like that? Do you ever feel pressure, or is it you just so used to it now?
Do I feel pressure? Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of pressure when you're performing in front of a huge audience. Even if you have a lot of experience. Yeah, stuff like that, like Carnegie Hall, that those types of things can be pretty scary, pretty daunting. But uh, what are you going to do? like, turn it down? So, yeah, anything worth earning is is worth a risk and worth a couple of nerves.
Like,
So,
oh no, I'm nervous, but this is so much money. I could be nervous for a little bit.
yeah, well, it's also the experience, but uh, I've turned down gigs that paid quite a lot on a number of occasions just because they just didn't fit the schedule, they didn't fit the bill, they didn't fit like my branding as much.
Mm-hmm.
Depend, to a certain extent, you could be a sellout if you want to pay the bills, but it's not. I don't think it's always wise to take every gig
Yeah,
that comes your way. You could end up like misbranding yourself. If there's a word like that.
yeah, I can see. You just gotta do what's best and what fits,
Hmm.
and then sometimes switch it up if that's a good part of the business. But yeah,
Hmm. Yeah.
I'm just thinking about like how there's so many people and you just try not to think, don't mess up because that's gonna mess you up anyway. If you think don't mess up, just go with it.
You're saying
I'm
you try
saying
not to say it again.
I'm just saying like if I was trying to like I was the day I was just trying to tell myself to not think about not messing up because that's gonna mess me up. But just think about it. The best thing to do is just go with the flow.
Yeah, go with the flow. Also, like if you mess up, okay, what's the worst thing that's going to happen? People are going to laugh, throw tomatoes at you. Like and our fear of like screwing up is generally amplified like beyond the reality of anybody actually caring. Like if it's embarrassing and you trip on stage or your pants fall down, so it's embarrassing in the moment, and then like let's just say there's 1,000 or even 2,000 people in the audience. How many of them are actually going to remember that? I don't know, a year down the road. Like they may tell the story, oh, how this funny thing happened, but it's like you just have to if you realize how small your performance actually is in the grand scheme of things of like humanity, the history of humanity. We're just like a blip on the screen, and it kind of helps calm your nerves, and allows you to kind of just like you mentioned go with the flow, realizing that if things go well, that's great. If things don't go well, then whoop-de-doo. Tomorrow's another performance.
Like, will they remember this in 2,000 years? Probably not.
Yeah, well, they won't know. People aren't going to be. I don't think anybody's going to be searching my profile necessarily. 2,000 years from now, maybe by accident, maybe one or two people by accident might trip over it, but there's going to be unlimited content. You know, even 100 years from now. So what we do now, I just think, the way we should think is how can we best impact other people in a good way? How can we bring love and light and happiness and joy to an otherwise pretty distressed world that we live in? And that's kind of like why I do what I do. I'm in music, and that's really with my limited scope and reach and capacity and impact. That's just what I choose to spend my time doing, and kind of spend less time fretting and worrying about, okay, what if I trip? What if I play out of tune? Blah, blah, blah. Just enjoy the ride. That's what I'm trying to do.
Noble like that.
Thanks.
Welcome.
Mhm.
So yeah, you're saying a lot about music. My experience with music is very limited. A little bit of middle school, but not that much. More of a designer. So it's nice to see how like a lot of the same themes and lessons are in there also?
Uh, nice to see. Oh, the same themes
Yeah.
and lessons from middle school. You're saying?
It's like art and like designing is also flows into music.
Yeah. I mean, we're all in the artistic kind of realm, art
Yeah.
and entertainment. Yep. Expression, self-expression.
hmm Yes. An idea. I lost it. Okay. Her back. So if it wasn't for music, would there be anything else you would do if you never got that violin at 2 years old? Like the lessons?
Uh, is there anything else that I would do with my life now? You're saying?
Yeah. If it wasn't
I would
music.
probably be a nurse or a teacher. Probably be doing something, super, super important and somewhat boring. I don't think anything quite touches music, as challenging as it is to run a career in the music industry. But it's fun. It's rewarding.
Nice. Is there anything you want to go over that didn't ask?
You can tell me about yourself. I just talked about myself. I mean, there's a lot about me. You guys could check, if you want to check out my music, you check it out on my original music on Spotify, iTunes, Deezer, pretty much every major platform. And if you want to check out my social media posts, my live performances are on Facebook and Instagram, TikTok, Asher Laub, ASHERLAUB. And I don't care where you're from or what language you speak. I always appreciate people reaching out, saying hello, posting a comment, DMing me. It means the world to me as an artist. So, because this is what I do. This is why I chose to do it. I chose to connect with human beings, with people across the planet. And I guess that's what I wanted to relay.
Nice. So you want to go over You also said you wanted me to introduce myself to you.
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
So Ezekiel, mostly known as Zeke, started this podcast back in 2020. The speak with people first of all started with my friends, and then I started to branch out to different people who were finding the podcast, and I connect with them. Been doing that now, I guess 3 years, and just trying to figure out what to do, like how to keep going.
Okay, cool. So you started 2020 during the pandemic.
Yeah, like I had the idea in 2019, and then I started releasing in 2020.
So you've done quite a few then.
Yeah.
Cool. And this is cut on the heels of being a performer or being a producer.
Your episode or what? I'm sorry.
No, I'm saying you. Yeah, this you chose to do the podcasting in the context of like you're a producer or a live performer.
More like the creative, like producing in it.
Producing music?
No, like my brain is not. I'm sorry, I am not. So you guys have like the reason why I created is was for the producing or creating.
I was just wondering what you do in if you do anything in music.
Oh, me personally, no. That's more of my brother thing. He does more of the music. I'm
Okay.
more of the like
Interviewer.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, it's nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Yeah. Well, that's about all I got.
Oh, cool. And it's at the time. Okay. So yeah, everybody knows we are. We're done with that.
AsherLaub.com is my website. And that'll kind of direct people to all the major platforms that I'm on. And again, want to welcome them to say hello. Let me know what kind of music they like to hear. I cover a bunch of different genres like classical, EDM, classical, hip hop, that type of stuff. And I try to produce music based on my listeners' interests. So that's what I wanted to share. And anybody wants to, who's interested in like the input of violin in in whatever genres like hip hop or pop or EDM, let me know. It's pretty easy to reach me, and I'll try to see if I can make some music for you.
Nice. Again, thank you for joining.
Thanks for having me.
Of course. That brings another episode of the Let's Get Podcast to a close. Again, you can find more about Asher by clicking the link in the description below. This is the last episode of Season 10 of Let's Get Podcast. You can find more information about what I'm doing in the closing episode that's also premiering today. Good day and night day, and I hope to see you there.